you, and so grateful to be with you for another week. For those who may be new, I'm Tim Fortescue, an IFS trained practitioner, and internal family systems has been life changing for me, and I'm so grateful to share it with others. I really resonate with the spirituality of IFS, and so grateful to walk alongside of you in things like this and in whatever capacity that may look like. You can find more about me on my website, faithfullygrowing.com. As we go throughout the time today, if you have questions, type them in the chat and I'll spend some time at the end. I'll give a little content and do a meditation, and then I'll spend some time engaging with your questions. And so grateful for the questions that have come in this week, whether it be with the live videos or through other content here on the channel, but so grateful for your questions. And so know that if you're not watching live, still type in your questions and I'd be glad to engage with you throughout the week. And you can always send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com. Before I jump into our content, just two things. Want to remind you that the doors are open now for the Faithfully Growing Community Annual Pass, and it's $108 for the whole year. And what that means is I want to ask you to donate anything else once you get for that for the year you're in. For example, I have a workshop on cultivating self-compassion coming up this Friday. For those that aren't members of the community, I ask for a donation, but for those who have the annual pass, it's complimentary to you, as well as courses that I release throughout the year. And then you get access to a weekly drop-in for us just to check in, see how our parts are doing on Thursdays, one for practitioners and one for everyone. And so I open that annual pass just a few times a year, and it's open till just the beginning of December for now. And so I encourage you to check that out. You get a 7-day free trial, and let me know if you have questions about that. And additionally, if you'd like to give a donation to help keep IFS accessible to all, you can also click a donate button on my website. So grateful for those who have donated, and just so grateful that you're part of this community. And if you don't have the capacity to donate, keep showing up. So glad that you're here. Okay, so today I'm going to talk just a little bit before I lead us in our meditation about setting boundaries and seeing boundaries in our life as trailheads for self-discovery. Boundaries are essential for maintaining balance, protecting energy, and prioritizing our well-being, just like boundaries externally in the world are needed to know when something begins and something ends. Or, I have a golden doodle, and I know he needs his boundaries to know where to stay in my yard. And so they're not just barriers, though, but they can be seen as trailheads that guide us into deeper self-understanding and growth. When we hit that boundary, notice the parts that come up, it can lead us to some good trailheads. And different parts of us often react to boundaries with emotions like guilt, frustration, or anxiety. And some examples of that is the people pleaser part that I know so well, and maybe you do too, that feel guilty about saying no. Or another protector part may feel anger or frustrated when boundaries aren't respected. And these reactions can be trailheads that point to underlying fears, needs, and beliefs within us. And so I encourage you and me to treat each boundary, some may be more challenging than others, as an invitation to understand the parts that are reacting. And it may be helpful to ask, which part is struggling with this boundary? what this part's concern or fear is, and what it needs from us as it reacts the way it does to a particular boundary. And we can support our parts by reminding them that boundaries are a way to honor and protect our needs. Things are different now. Remind them that we're older, and just offer reassurance to parts that may fear conflict, guilt, or rejection, as they're quite likely younger parts of us, and they don't know that we're older now. They don't know that there may be a better way, and they may be able to be kids again, be the 7-year-old that they think they are, because there's an inner team here. They're not alone. And internal boundaries are often the most challenging, but essential for self-care and balance. And maybe that is creating limits around work hours for those workaholic or taskmaster parts, prioritizing rest and time for personal reflection. And I know, you've heard me talk about my taskmaster part that struggles with boundaries around work hours. And so just continuing to be aware of those parts that arise when it is time to relax and to draw a boundary. And some other questions, and I'll lead you through a meditation in just a bit to touch on some of this. What you may want to ask: which parts struggle with setting or respecting boundaries? What support do these parts need to feel comfortable with boundaries? And what boundaries currently need to be communicated or upheld in your life? And know too that I send out a weekly email as a part of this faithfully growing community in the annual pass that I mentioned early on. And you can find a link in the video about the faithfully growing community annual pass. But I do a topic, for example, like I'm doing on boundaries now each week, and I'll send you these reflection questions. And so if you have questions about that, send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com, but would love for you to be a part of that community. And so before I get into our meditation, boundaries both within ourselves and in others can lead to a journey. And when we treat boundaries as trailheads, this allows us to grow in self-compassion, awareness, and authenticity. And each step deepens our connection to our core, to our belovedness, who we truly are. So let's spend some time checking in with our parts. Begin by finding a comfortable position. You might choose to sit or lie down, whatever helps you feel relaxed and supported. And take a few deep breaths, inhaling slowly and exhaling fully. It's always good for me to pause and notice my parts that are up. Just let go of any tension in your body and allow your breathing to become natural again, and just notice the rise and fall of the chest at your own pace. And as you breathe, bring your attention to your feet. Feel them connecting to the ground beneath you. It may be helpful to imagine roots growing from your feet, grounding you, connecting you to a place of stability and support. And let this sense of groundedness remind you that you're safe here in this moment, that you're supported, and exploring your inner world for just a bit. Now let's continue just pondering the idea of boundaries. And just see if there's a boundary that comes to mind for you that you've tried to set or one you've struggled to uphold, either with someone else or with yourself. And take your time and know too that you can watch this recording again and pause it if you need more time. Just allow a specific situation to surface naturally. No need to force it. Just let whatever boundary comes to mind appear gently. As this boundary settles into your awareness, notice what parts of you come forward around it. Are there any parts with strong reactions like frustration, anxiety, or guilt? And take a few breaths welcoming these parts and letting them know you're here to listen. And then choose one part to focus on. Maybe it's a part that struggles with setting boundaries, or one that feels hurt or frustrated when boundaries aren't respected. Invite this part to step forward if it's willing, and simply notice how it feels in your body. How do you feel toward this part? See if there's just a drop, at least, of curiosity or openness. If not, it's likely another part. And just see if that part could soften back and just give us a little space, knowing that it can have some time in the future too. There's no rush, just allow yourself to be curious and open if you can. And if it's not working, just be with what is. But if this part that you've picked feels ready, ask it. What are your concerns or fears about setting or holding this boundary? And listen gently. This part might share words, images, or sensations. Or you may get a felt sense of what it's trying to express. Whatever comes up, just thank this part for sharing its perspective. And as we continue to follow this trailhead that this boundary is leading us on. Imagine it as a path leading you inward, inviting you to explore this part's story more deeply that you've picked that comes up around this boundary. And ask the part, where'd you first learn to feel this way about this boundary or boundaries in general? And this question might bring up memories, insights, or a sense of past experiences. Simply listen, honoring whatever arises. If any difficult emotions come up, let the part know that you're here to support it and that it doesn't need to feel alone. You might even offer it some comfort, reminding it that you're here to help it feel safe. And there are other parts witnessing of this inner team that can help with that too. As you continue to sit with this part, ask it what it needs to feel supported in setting or respecting boundaries. Does it need reassurance that it's okay to play and to get what it needs? Or perhaps it needs to be reminded that setting boundaries doesn't mean rejecting others. Whatever it asks for, see if you can offer that support in this moment, either through kind words or asking it to trust you a little more and reminding it there's a team. And let this part know that it can come to you whenever it needs support. You're here and you're committed to helping it find the balance it needs. You're not going to forget about it. We're going to wrap up in just a bit, but before we do that, just take a moment and reflect on how this boundary and this part that you've chosen that comes up around this boundary might guide you toward deeper self-awareness. Imagine this trailhead leading you to new insights and growth, opening up new possibilities for balance and authenticity. And as you continue to engage with the parts that come up around this boundary, you're learning to navigate your boundaries in a way that honors your needs and reflects who you truly are at the core. See if there's anything else before we wrap up. Just send some gratitude to this part that you've chosen to be curious about. Thank it for as much or as little as it's shared. Thank those parts who've witnessed. Thank them for their courage in giving us some space, letting them know that they can have some attention too in the future. And then when it feels right, you can bring your attention back to your breath, feeling the inhale, the exhale. And slowly just bring your awareness back to your feet, noticing your connection to the ground. And let this sense of grounding and stability remain with you, reminding that you're supported and setting boundaries and following these trailheads inside. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed and take a moment just to feel the calm and insight that you've gained, and know that you can return to this practice whenever you need. But thank you so much for exploring this boundary trailhead with me, with your inner team, and may it lead you to greater clarity, self-compassion, and peace. Thank you. I'll pause for just a bit. If you have questions or comments, glad to take those. Thanks for that thumbs up. And you can always send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com if you have questions, or you can comment if you're watching a recording of this or any of the videos here. Would be glad to engage with you. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and share it with others. But so grateful for this community. I'll sign off for now. But have a great week. Join me next week if you can. And yeah, let's try to take care of ourselves. All right. Take care.